Nick, what do you think about being spanked?
I've never been in a situation. I've had it asked of me, and I don't like punishment.
Well, did she go to the funny farm afterwards?
Well, the situation when I was asked was not very funny.
Ha 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 ha.
It's quite serious. Hey guys, it's your favorite final girl and your favorite final boy, Emily and Nick, coming at you with a new episode of Gag Me with a Knife, a weekly podcast where we dissect, disembowel, and shred the best and worst of slasher movies. This week, we will be slashing through 1984's Silent Madness. As always, Emily's got a VHS. Let's hear what's on the back of that fucking box.
It was truly a hell night. In the eerie blackness of that traditional night of cruelty, the girls of Delta Omega Sorority discovered what hell must surely be like in a sudden violent carnage at the hands of a frenzied psychopath. Now, 20 years later, the mute, deranged killer has come back, escaping from an insane asylum to repeat his grotesque, bloody brand of silent madness. But a determined, attractive psychiatrist has come after him, Dr. Loomis, and she knows where to find him. Where history will have a way of repeating itself, where a sorority house is about to become a hellish human slaughterhouse once again. There, in the haunted halls of Delta Omega, she will learn the terrible, twisted truth behind that notorious Hell Night. But no one will believe her. No one will listen. Until the screaming starts. 1984, your thoughts?
My thoughts is I need to wipe my ass a little bit more because my ass is itching.
Silent Madness.
Yeah. Oh, well, I mean, I have nothing to say about it.
Well,
it's not that good.
Yeah, it's average, is what I think.
I think they probably since it was a VHS copy that I watched, I think it was they spent more on the VHS plastic than they did the movie.
I don't know. I do realize just now why the movie's called Silent Madness. I did not realize that till just now because he's mute.
I thought it was because you were going mad watching it like silently whenever you're just sitting there going, what the fuck is this movie?
Yeah, I don't know. I was fine with it. Maybe the rewatchability is low. I might rewatch it every through a few years or something like that.
I will never watch this movie again.
It is one of the... It did come out in theaters, and it was one of the movies that came out in 3D during that time period.
Bum, bum, bum.
Yep, which is pretty cool. And it does have a pretty cool 3D intro with the intro popping out at you. And the photography and cinematography, all that, I think is done pretty well. And the actors aren't terrible. It just lags a lot, where it shouldn't because it's only like an hour and 25 minutes or something.
It's kind of like a crime drama.
Yeah, a little bit. And you've got this Dr. Loomis type character that doesn't really end up working really well because no one believes her. So anyway.
Hashtag believe women.
Yeah. For real. That's true. Not to 1984, I guess. We start out at a mental hospital, and we're introduced to our main character, Dr. Joan Gilmore. And then also you see some skeleton man-looking doctor who ends up, his name is Dr. Kruger, which a lot of people think is a reference to Nightmare on Elm Street, but actually that had not come out yet. So, but it could have been a reference.
Same year, right?
Well, yeah, so they couldn't have known that. And also there's a lot of boiler room scenes, but
there are, yeah.
They could have taken Kruger from Last House on the Left. I don't know.
Yeah, Krug.
Yeah. Anyway, at the mental hospital, Dr. Gilmore is wondering why all these patients are being released. They're releasing a whole bunch of patients she doesn't think should be released.
They're letting out the crazies, man.
Yeah. And so she gets a list of the released patients.
That shit saves money, man.
And she gets the list. She's like, well, this guy is still here. His name is John Howard.
Are you sure his name's that?
Well, the guy that's still there, the guy that was supposed to be released, name is John Howard, but he's still there. So she's like, "What the fuck?"
Well, you know how these things get mixed up.
And so she checks out in the computer, and who was actually released was someone named Howard Johns, who was in the L ward. And we see when she finally gets into the L ward, not L word, L ward. It's
L.
like
Ron Hubbard.
Yeah, it's like this. I mean, awful, fucked up place where they have people like that have had lobotomies and stuff, and they have them in body bags and shit, and they're still alive, and it's really, really fucked up.
Sounds like everyday life society.
Yeah. Anyway, she realizes that that there's been a mix-up, and at the same time, we see these two lovers. One of them is Ronnie from Sleepaway Camp. His name's Paul D'Angelo.
Woo-hoo.
Yeah, and they've just got done fishing, and they're going to their van.
And you know what they're gonna do?
Yeah, they're about to do it.
Yeah.
But while they're about to do it, this guy starts axing the van.
Yeah, somebody got to bust up the fuck van for the nature boobs.
Yeah, so he finally gets in, and I think Ronnie, his name's not Ronnie, his name's Paul, actually. So not Ronnie from Sleepaway Camp, Paul in this movie. He has a hammer, but the guy grabs the hammer and he hits him in the head with it and kills him. And then
that'll do it.
Axes he 3D axes the girl to the head.
Yeah. It comes at you.
Yeah. And then we get back to the asylum. Just get a grip is what I was thinking, but okay. And there's more of the fucked up shit. She's still just walking around being like, why is everything fucked up, I guess. And then we cut back to, I don't know what the college is called, but it says college for women. And that someone says something about it's time for a vacation. It's fall break, actually. And then there's this girl that's skateboarding. She says, her boyfriend says bye to her. Her name's Barbara. And while she is skateboarding on a very busy trail, it seems like there are a lot of people that were using the trail. It looked like anyway, out of nowhere, she gets grabbed.
Until now, yeah.
But during the 1 second, there aren't like 30 people on the trail. She gets grabbed by this the guy that killed the people in the beginning.
That's how it happens.
And
you ever tried?
No.
You never like
tried to kidnap somebody?
Silently waiting through a bike trail?
Once.
Yeah. I knew it. I fucking knew it.
So he takes her to this place. We don't know what it is yet. We'll find out later. But because I wrote, what the hell is this place? But okay. Well, how did he find it? We'll find out. But he puts her head in a vice. This
scene is great.
Yeah.
Even though it makes no fucking sense of why he is killing. But he's killing.
It's a good, very interesting death for 1984. Pre-Saw, stuff like that. Yeah. I'm not minding this death. I mind it in Saw movies because it's too much.
They give them an option.
Yeah, well, that too. But
and this is just advice.
No,
Come
it's just
on,
like
let's
you're
go.
Putting it in here.
Yeah.
So
put it in there.
We're so we're back to the asylum, and Dr. Joan Gilmore realizes that Howard Johns, the person that accidentally got released instead of John Howard, his body bag is empty because he was in the L ward.
What?
Yeah. And she gets caught by Virgil, who is one of the attendees in the L ward, and as well as his friend Jesse. And
do you notice about like this movie and every other horror movie where a hospital is involved? No hospital in horror movies are lit properly. Like I've been in a hospital before, and I've gone to see people in hospitals before, and they're all
not
very
in the L
well
ward.
lit.
Not in the L ward.
Is that where they don't have enough money to pay the fucking power bill?
Yeah, for that area.
Is that
they were spending it all on electricity to give to the patients, I guess.
Oh yeah, it's all the fucking electroshock.
Yeah.
Shit. That's why the lights are so dim.
And you see Virgil, and he does this maniacal laugh for no reason that goes on for way too long.
The orderlies.
Yeah.
The best characters in the fucking film.
Yeah.
They're the only characters with any fucking soul, and they suck.
Well, soul, they are awful people.
Oh, they can act.
I think I don't think there's really like too bad of acting in this movie.
We'll get to low rent Fonzie in a minute.
I liked him.
He's
I kind of had a
right.
crush on him.
Well, let's romance that stone a little bit later.
Okay, so Dr. Gilmore goes to Kruger with the information about this mistake, that the wrong person was released, and that, this guy's a psychopath, and he killed all these sorority girls, and they've let him out instead. And really, at first, he's just like, how'd you get him Ward L? Okay. So finally, you think she gets her attention. She gets his attention, and he's like, "Have you told anybody?" And she's like, "No." And he's like, "Well, I'll take this to Doctor. Is it Anderson? Yeah, it's Anderson." In that scene, you pretty much can tell there's not going to be much done about it, but whatever. And it cuts to the Delta Omega sorority, and they're playing Monopoly. Woohoo!
Yeah, no, and within the scene, one girl gets Park Place and Boardwalk, and you know that person. There's always been that person every time you play Monopoly.
But she isn't even playing. The one person, the girl not playing, she complains about it.
I would complain about it too, because I know that person, and I know
it was me.
Dude, there's always somebody that gets both of them. It's
because you cheat.
Bullshit. It's bullshit, man.
No, I said it's that's how you do it.
That's the most expensive realty, and then they start building hotels.
I know.
Bullshit.
That game can go on forever, though. Okay, but
not if you get Park Place and Boardwalk. That's when the game ends, and
that's
whenever
true.
they get it, that's my point.
Unless someone gets Boardwalk and someone gets Park Place, has happened.
It doesn't matter the order.
No, two different people. If two different people end up getting
then you get into a bidding match, and you know how that ends.
Horribly. I've played with the ex-co-host actually one time.
How many railroads have you had to fucking sell just to get Park Place?
Well, yeah, the ex-co-host of the show threw a Monopoly board out of threw it while we were playing one day because he got pissed.
I don't mean to speak ill of him.
No, I'm not. He'll tell you the story. He threw with the Monopoly board and then went and sat in a recliner all night.
Skype him up.
So, but the one good thing about this scene is we do see that another girl from Sleepaway Camp is or an actor from Sleepaway Camp's in this movie. It's the name's Meg, M-E-G. Catherine Kami is in this movie. She plays Jane, who is the whole time trying to leave. She's trying to leave this place. She's got her suitcase. I don't know why she hasn't gotten the fuck out, but whatever. Okay.
Suitcase is in the boiler room, too.
Well, she already has her stuff. She already has all of her stuff. Lorraine is leaving to go to Fort Lauderdale, and she's like, "Why don't you just come with me?" And
we can do OxyContin.
And there's a joke. The hilarious between her and I think Pam. It's like basically, you're ugly, well you're poor. Okay.
Is that how girls interact?
Yeah, petty bitches, I guess.
I barely know how boys interact.
Well, I don't know if anyone know that. So Cheryl
smooching in the boys' room.
Cheryl is also Cheryl and Lorraine are the ones playing Monopoly, and then they're like, "Well, before you leave, Lorraine, let's take some pictures of you." And they're like, taking kind of sexy pictures of Lorraine, and then
is that what they do?
No. No, I'm going on vacation. Wait, before you go, let me shoot some sexy pics of you. I don't know,
so I can talk shit about you.
Because you're so ugly.
Yeah, look at this fat bitch.
Look how ugly you are. I'm going to take pictures of you. That's basically what they said. I
didn't say it. They did.
No, they did. So while Cheryl's taking the pictures, Mrs. Collins, who's the sorority mother, she comes down yelling like, you sluts. And then they're like...
No. They're showing their tits, which is great for celluloid, but it is horrible for Mrs. Collins.
Yeah, she doesn't like it, but...
nudity equals slut.
She seems insane for a second, but then they're like, come on, we're just playing around, and she kind of calms down a little bit. But she says...
cool it out, Mrs. Collins.
She does tell them they need to be careful with temptation. And, I mean, good point, Miss Collins.
Yeah, that biblical tenet will go nowhere.
Well, I mean, it's not that bad of advice.
I guess. Depends on who you are.
Or who you're around.
Or what you want to fuck.
Well, yeah.
I don't care if it's a fucking upside down fucking chair.
Temptation's a bitch.
Hey man, 1 became 4.
Okay, so Lorraine leaves the room because she needs to go get her suitcase, which is in a room down in the boiler room. Okay,
You know that Down in the Boiler Room is actually a fucking song off this DJ record that Freddy Krueger actually did.
Well, this came out. They were making this at the same time, so they couldn't have known that.
Well, it became a hit. That's all I'm saying.
The boiler room is A, huge for a house like this, and B, I don't know why you would have your suitcases down in this dark, dank, musty ass area.
That makes no sense to me.
I know. So she gets grabbed by the leg by the killer. At this point, we know it's Howard Johns. But she gets away for a second and she starts going up the ladder. But when she gets up to the top, he's at the top. I don't know how he got up there so fast.
He's a master of this fucking boiler room.
Yeah. Well, I mean, lived there. We'll find out. So he ends up killing her by putting her face in front of this.
What you just said might be considered spoiler room.
Yes, yeah, we're in the spoiler room now.
Oh, are you?
So he kills her with scalding steam to the face. He puts her face in front of this, like, I don't know what it is.
He gives her a hit of what he's smoking.
And it's like...
It's a fucking gravity bong, dude.
It's opened tube. What is that called?
A steam pipe?
Yeah, steam pipe.
I call it a steamroller.
Okay.
No, he's just trying to get her lit,
giving
dude.
Her the Chip Cleveland steamroller.
Yeah, dude. No, he's just trying to get her lit, dude. Like, I've never seen somebody so square. She died because she was square.
And ugly.
Hey, I didn't say that.
I didn't either. Those girls did.
You just did.
Well, the girls did.
Well... Okay.
So, we're back at the mental hospital.
I'm just saying, man, that was some dro. He was trying to turn it on, turn on, tune in, drop out.
Unfortunately, it was not that, and it was scalding steam that kills her.
Yeah, okay.
Back at the mental hospital, Anderson, the head doctor of, what is the place called?
Ravencroft.
Chestnut.
I don't know. I don't give a shit.
It's Castlethorpe. I don't know what it's called. I can't remember.
Everything that you've ever, anything you can imagine.
I think I wrote it down at one point, but whatever. So the head doctor knows about the mix-up, but Krueger says that Howard Johns was deceased. Liar, pants on fire. He's a liar. He's a skeleton man.
He was cremated.
Liar. Fucking Skeletor. I hate him. So...
Well, he's on the cover of the box, even though he has no screen time.
Yeah, well, he does, but just to look at his bony ass face. And so Anderson's like, "Well, what did you do with the body?" And he says that Virgil cremated him, but there's no record. And he's like, "Well, there is, but there really isn't." And then
they listened to the record, and it was fucking badass.
It was backwards. And it was played it backwards.
That's why this whole movie happened. Somebody listened to this record backwards.
So anyway, Anderson tells Joan Gilmore to take the weekend off, and by Monday the paperwork on Howard Johns is going to be completed, and Krueger's rude to Gilmore, so okay, whatever. She next you see her arrive at the police station down 3 hours away from Manhattan. She was in Manhattan, now she's in like Barrington, New York, I think.
Yeah.
Where all of this is going on.
Which that can't be a real place.
I mean, it probably is.
Upstate New York is ugly.
Well, it probably is.
This place looks wonderful.
So she walks in, and the sheriff is asleep. This guy has been in a lot of stuff. He was in, like, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, Serpico, Carrie, History of the World Part 1.
No, he's like if Scott Bakula and the Fonz took a shit.
No, not the newspaper guy. Not the newspaper. The cop. The sheriff.
That dude.
Yeah, he's like one of the main guys in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. He looks kind of like the guy that was in Princess Bride, but uglier.
I'll save my Fonzie Scott Bakula shit joke for later.
He was also in an episode of Night Court, so... Anyway, and he was
our buddy John Larroquette, Harry Anderson, and Richard Mole.
And he was in Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead. But anyway,
I love that movie.
Yeah, me too. So she walks in, and she wants to see the records on Howard Johns, like the police records from when he killed all these sorority girls. And the sheriff shows her like a wound on his neck that he got from Howard Johns. I don't know why. She finally admits that she thinks that he was accidentally released, but maybe not. Maybe he is dead. I don't really know because I don't believe what anyone's telling me. So she sounds really legitimate.
John Howard and Howard Johns, it could be so fucking, you know.
Yeah, and so anyway, he ends up saying, "Thanks for the tip. Call me tomorrow."
Oh.
So he tells her she needs to go to the local newspaper to get information because he needs to call the psych hospital and see if he can talk to her about it.
The sheriff is insufferable.
Yeah. So he calls Mark McGowan. We don't know who that is yet, but we will in just a second because she shows up at the quote unquote newspaper office. That's the name of it, newspaper office. And she lies and says she's doing a magazine article and will they help her with some information. Well, it's Mark McGowan that sheriff had just called, so he knows who she is.
Get out of town.
And he's cute.
Oh, no, this is what I was saying earlier. He's like, if Scott Bakula and the Fonz took a shit and held hands, this would be their turd.
Scott who?
Scott Bakula, he was in Quantum Leap.
Oh, yeah, I can see that. Okay, well, he's whatever.
So I think this is how they make what do you call it? John Fogerty. No, seriously. Okay. Those guys hold hands and shit, and then the artist appear.
So Mark is like, okay, well, she admits he's like Dr. Gilmore, and she's like, okay, you caught me, ha ha. So they talk about how they can maybe work together, and he can get a story, and she can find her guy.
And he's trying to get laid.
Also, and he's like, well, you should pretend you're an alum of this sorority, and there's like girl.
You should try to pretend like you're on my dick.
Well, he does that later, but he's like, and then you can stay there. You can stay at the sorority house because it's their fall break, so there's open rooms. And she's like, well, I don't have any proof that I would have been in the sorority. He's like, well, my sister was, so I'll get her sorority ring, and you can wear that. They never asked for it.
So Mark's got an in.
Yeah.
He's been messing around with the sorority for a while.
Yeah.
Well, and what's her name just blew into town with a story.
Well, she's a hottie.
She's okay.
Oh, anyway.
She's pretty good.
Yeah, she is. So she shows up at the sorority, and then Collins, she just says, I'm an alum. She doesn't need any, they don't care. They don't ask for.
No, they toss her a ring, and it doesn't matter.
Yeah, she didn't even have to have it. So
that's how sororities work.
Collins says, Mrs. Collins says she can stay, and that she lives across the street. So she should come over. Joan should come over and see her later. She's staying in Lorraine's room, and they say, "Isn't it? This isn't as fun without all the guys around." And I'm like, "This is a woman's college, but I guess there's another college nearby or whatever."
Hey, you gotta crack a few eggs and make an omelet.
Yeah. Cheryl starts talking about the sorority slaughter, and one of the girls is into it, but Meg from Sleepaway Camp, every time it comes up, she is like, "Oh, I don't want to talk about it." Nah. Okay, whatever.
We should listen to her. Believe women.
Yeah. Well, now Gilmore's at Mrs. Collins' house, and Collins is all about, oh, I get lonely, and these girls.
Mrs. Collins' story corner.
Yeah, she's I get lonely without all the girls around. I used to have my son Francis, but she says God took Francis away, and Gilmore asks her about the murders, and at first Collins is like, well, you have no right. And then she's like, well, it'll make you feel better because I'm also a doctor. I'm a psychiatrist, so also tell me. And then she's just like, okay. Well, it was a terrible night. She gets
real mad, too.
Janitor Howard was gone during Hell Week usually, but he came back this time. And then there's a flashback to where they get him drunk.
Well, I love this flashback, too, because, anything old has to be black and white.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, it's like... back in the old days,
when everything was not in color, even in real life,
we were scuzz bopping, and steampunking.
Yeah, it's like the Wizard of Oz. It's nothing was in color in real life. So so in the flashback, the girls are spanking the other girls during Hell Week, but they catch the janitor there, and so they bring him in, and he's not that bad looking. He's pretty young, and they get him drunk.
He could have caught one.
He could have. I mean, he didn't have to try.
I think these ladies are trying to lay some on him.
They should have.
I think they were.
So,
I think he.
well, no,
I think he handled it.
They
poorly.
call him a creep.
There's no. Well, he was being creepy, but they kind of invited him in.
They do, because they are like, well, let's do this to him. So they get him drunk and they tease him, and then they all start spanking him with
like, this is the best Friday night ever.
Yeah, they spank him with their little.
Who the fuck does not have fun with this?
What are those called? Paddles.
Yeah, paddles. Yeah.
Yeah, my parents had those when they used to be able to spank as a teacher.
Yeah. Well, dude, if I was in this situation and these girls were doing that to me, I'd be like, hey, thanks for getting me drunk. And then when they hit me, I'd be like, thank you, sir. May I have another?
It's just like Animal House.
Yeah.
So anyway, the spanking does not go over well with Howard at Howard Johns. And so he strikes back and he shoots 4 of them. Well, Colin says all of them, but it only shows 4 girls.
What does he fucking shoot them with?
With a nail gun.
And that's not how they work.
Well, it's a nail gun.
I guess in the black and white days.
In the black and white days, that's how they worked. Yeah.
Yeah. So
he kills these 4 girls, which apparently was all of the sorority. I don't think that that's enough to make a chapter, but okay. It shows well, at least shows 4 girls getting shot with a nail gun. Anyway.
And that's all we care about.
Yeah. And so now Mark and Joan are out to dinner, and she tells him the story, or she's seemingly just telling the story, and basically it's like, yep, it was just because he got spanked and went crazy. It's like, what? Like, okay, spanked and went crazy.
Did we start with Miss Collins telling the story and then end with Mark and Joan at the restaurant?
Yeah.
So Joan just felt liberty to tell Miss Collins' fucking story?
Mm-hmm. But everyone knew. Well, everyone knew about it, so.
We'll come to find out that maybe they didn't.
I guess they didn't. I was like, I thought this was like big news. Anyway, so Joan says she thinks something's wrong at Cresthaven. Cresthaven is the hospital.
Not Ravencroft.
And then Mark kind of makes fun of her for thinking that there's something going on. But she thinks it's cute.
Classic chauvinism.
And then he's like, I'll protect you. Okay. We'll see how well that works out.
Like I said, classic chauvinism.
Mm-hmm. He's cute though. So.
Oh yeah.
Next we see Cheryl. It's the morning. This is the next morning. Cheryl is putting Coca-Cola in her cereal.
It's a weird product placement.
Yeah, because there's nothing said about it.
Well, not that I wonder if anybody has done it. I just wonder if anybody has done it because they saw this movie.
I was like...
I know somebody has done it.
I just thought it was weird because no one is like, gross, why are you doing that? It's just like, okay, she's just putting Coke in her cereal.
A fucking 40 in your cereal.
Yeah.
It's disgusting.
So, Joan walks in...
Actually, I'm going to do that later.
Yeah. Joan walks in and... Cheryl tells Joan Gilmore that she'll show her where the murders happened. And Jane / Meg from Sleepaway Camp, she runs away because every time this is brought up, she panics and runs for whatever reason. So
classic Jane.
It was in the boiler room. John's lived in a room in the back. That's where their luggage is now. So it's technically not, I mean, it's in the boiler room, but it's in a separate room from the boiler room. So maybe it's not as damp in there. I doubt it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying about like this boiler room storage is like that's not a place to like store your stuff. That's a place to get your shit moldy. Also,
it looks like the boiler room of a fucking school. It's huge. Anyway,
it looks like where Freddy Krueger would jerk off.
Yeah. So they're she's like, Cheryl's like, see, you can even see some of the blood stains. And then the security guard, Mr. Hackler, he comes in. He's like, oh, you gotta leave, blah, blah, whatever. And he's whatever. I don't know. And they go into the room where the suitcases are. And Cheryl's like, it smells really bad in here. And, then they just leave, I guess. But, a
basement boiler room. It smells really bad.
I'm assuming that Lorraine's dead body's in there, but okay.
It smells extra bad in this room.
And she's like, well, we're going to go into town, like me and the girls. But Joan says she's going to stay there. And I don't want, and at this point I was like, why hasn't Jane?
I'm going to stay here because it smells bad.
I'm like, well, why hasn't Jane left still? Because the day before she had packed and seemed like she was getting ready to go, but she still hasn't left. So whatever. Joan finds a medical tag. After Cheryl leaves, Joan is still in the boiler room. She finds Howard John's medical tag on the floor. She turns around and there he is, and he kind of grabs her and she runs. So, but the security guard, Mr. Hackler, comes in and the lights are off and they don't see anything. She's like, he was right here, and when they walk out, you can see Howard Johns. He's hiding above them in the ceiling or something, like above a vent.
Oh my gosh.
So Joan calls Cresthaven and asks specifically for Anderson. So finally she realizes Kruger's a douchebag, and she asks Anderson if she'll send people, and that she's like, okay, we'll send people right now, but it's going to take 3 hours. So Joan's like, I'm going to also go to the sheriff because she doesn't trust the doctors. And she doesn't think anyone is dead yet. Also, by the way, she says that. And I'm like, okay, why would you say that if you're trying to make them be more urgent about this?
Well, she seems pretty fucking laissez-faire or blasé-faire.
Laissez-faire.
Like with this guy just tried to kill her, and she knows about this dude.
Yeah.
And
I just think
she just runs up and and instead of phoning the cops, she phones
Anderson.
Her work.
Yeah. And I'm just like, I wouldn't have just thrown in, I don't think anyone's dead yet, because there was no point in doing that. That just lessens the urgency. But okay. Joan, instead of the sheriff's office, goes to...
I think maybe she wants to stay at the sorority.
Yeah. She thinks she's liking it there. So instead of going to the sheriff first, she goes to Mark, and then they both go to the sheriff. And she's like, I saw him. I saw Johns, and the sheriff doesn't believe her. And
this sheriff is a piece of shit too.
And he gets on the phone. He gets a phone call, and it's Kruger. Great. All the doctors, including Anderson, who gets on the phone, say that Johns is dead. But she's I was like, I really had high hopes for Anderson, the head doctor, who's a female, because she really seemed to believe Joan at first, but then she just is going along with it now.
I mean, she's barely a character in this movie, and so are the other doctors.
Well, they're important though. They're important though. They're important because they have to. They're like, well, we have to make sure no one finds this guy if he really is alive, because that's it's like a mistake a huge mistake on our part. Anyway, they send the sheriff the death certificate. Mark sees it, and he's like, well, here it is. It's the death certificate. And Joan's like, well, forget it then.
Okay, so Mark doesn't have her back, so of course.
Well, he does. That's only for a second. She goes, forget it, I'm going back. Mark follows her.
Well, of course.
Man. The sheriff says one of the best lines. Just because the broad is so damn good looking doesn't mean we all have to think with our dick.
Yeah. He's right.
I was like, yeah, it does. Like, no, but I wrote, yeah, it kind of does.
That's the only part that that's the only line the sheriff said that I agree with. I was like,
hey, you're pretty on the nose about that, sheriff.
Not trying to be a jerk, just hey, man.
So we go back to the scene with the Crestview, the hospital, and the doctors are still in their office talking about what to do about this situation. Anderson wants Jesse and Virgil, those attendants from Ward L, to go find
Ward L sounds like a grandpa's name.
Ward L. Ward L. It's really L Ward, but whatever.
L Ward.
Yeah, and that sounds like that show. Anyway, whatever.
Shit.
Yeah. That's why I changed it. Anyway, okay, that doesn't matter. So they want Virgil. They want Virgil and Jesse to go.
What's up with Ward L?
With Jesse to go down, find Johns, and also get Joan, and get the job done quietly. Make sure he isn't found.
Yeah.
In case he is alive, because Anderson's still, I guess, questioning it. Now Joan and Mark are at the sorority, and she yells at Mark, and she's like, "You should have more faith in me." And then they notice that a girl's, it's Jane's tires, the one that was trying to leave. Her tires have been slashed. So she should have left the day before when she had all of her shit, before her tires got slashed or whatever. But when they go inside, all the girls think that the frat guys from Summit College did it. And now the phones aren't working.
Also, like, whenever she's like, "See, do you see what I mean?" It doesn't really mean much, because this bitch has been driving around, and we didn't mention this, in a fucking Studebaker. Like, Oh, no, she's driving around. She's driving in fucking shitty bang bang.
Yeah.
Like, without the wings. It's bullshit. Like.
Well, all of this is very sus because, okay.
Sus.
This girl has had her tires slashed. The phones aren't working, but they're all just like, well, it's fine. And that's not fine. That's reason to be concerned, I feel like.
I would be worried.
So,
if I walked out and my tires were slashed, I'd be like, okay, something's different today.
Yeah, the phones aren't working. This could be bad. Okay. I guess, the days of landlines. So, Jane is like, now I can't. She's like, I need to get out of here. And Mark says she's like, well, my sister and her boyfriend are in their van fishing and camping by this lake, so can you just drop me off there? So Mark says that he'll take Joan's car and drop her off there, and Joan is supposed to watch Cheryl and Pam. Well, as soon as he leaves with Joan immediately leaves them to go change. So, yeah. Okay. Now we cut to Virgil and Jesse, who are kind of in this movie, the bumbling cops.
The orderlies.
Yeah, they're the orderlies, but they're
Shlomo and Polly.
Yeah, they're the orderlies, but they're kind of like they play the bumbling cop characters, kind of.
They're kind of the best actors in the movie.
Well, you think, but they're talking shit while they drive, and Jesse is like, "Well, I let him out. He's an asshole about people." Jane and Mark, because of Jane and Mark, and they pull up on the van that her sister and her boyfriend got, the people that got killed at the beginning, and
those guys,
they're like, oh, what the fuck, this van's all in ruins, and they find Susan, which is her sister's dead body, and Paul's dead body comes out of the back of the van. And then we see Virgil and Jesse again bumbling around getting directions, and I think after that, Mark has brought Jane back to the news place, or maybe his house. I don't know.
Well, he gets chased by the ambulance.
No,
people.
before that.
Okay.
Before that, he takes Jane somewhere that's not the sorority. Oh. And it has a phone, and he's like, keep calling the sheriff because he can't get a hold of the sheriff. It's busy. But he's like, just keep trying. And he's like, I'm going back to the sorority, but you stay here.
I'm going back to the sorority. You stay here. Trust me, I won't cheat on you.
Yeah. Virgil and Jesse see Mark driving Joan's car, so they think it's Joan, and they're like, let's have some fun, and start fucking with him while he's driving, trying to run him off the road and shit.
Let's fuck up this Studebaker.
Yeah. And back at the sorority, one of the girls is playing Dragon's Lair. That's Pam, and Cheryl's playing Dragon's Lair. Pam is working out, and Joan is like...
Dragon's Lair fucking fans out there, check this movie out, because, she can't get past it either. No one. And Joan asks if anyone locked the cellar door, and they hadn't. So she leaves them again. I love that. That's a thing that sorority girls do. Lock the cellar door.
Well, in this situation, she should have. But, I mean, she leaves them again. Her only thing that she was supposed to do while Mark was gone was...
lock that cellar door.
Was to stay with these girls. And she doesn't. She goes to lock the cellar door. So she leaves them again. And while Cheryl is playing Dragon's Lair, she's, like, telling herself, she's like, don't die. Come on, don't die, don't die. However, Johns comes up from behind and stabs her in the back.
Yeah.
Then he stabs Pam, but not to death.
I'm not convinced that Pam did not see all this happening.
Well, Pam is upside down, though, on this jungle gym contraption thing.
That really doesn't matter.
And, I'm just saying what happens.
I know.
So he stabs her.
Have you ever been upside down?
Yes, I was a gymnast.
So it's the same thing, except it's upside down.
Well, it's harder to get down.
Well, I mean, it's not harder to see.
Well, if he just stabbed her in the back and then immediately stabs Pam, it's kind of a...
Well, I mean...
kerfuffle.
This is before earbuds.
Yeah. Yes, it was. But so he stabs Pam, but she isn't dead from the stab. And then he ties this rope around her neck and ties the other side of the rope to a dumbbell and then throws it out the window, which is... supposedly decapitates Pam, but we don't see that. It's off screen. And then Joan gets back from locking the cellar door like as soon as all this happens.
Yeah.
Good move, girl. So I guess Virgil and Jesse have followed this Studebaker all the way back to the sorority, and Mark gets out of the car. Virgil,
It's not hard to follow a Studebaker because nobody has one.
well, especially when you're like trying to run it off the road. So Virgil,
Let's wreck this classic car.
yeah, but we'll also get to where we're going. So
and never mind.
Mark gets out, and Virgil knocks him out, and he finds Gilmore in the sorority house. Jesse also comes in, and they chase her. She hides in her room, in the room that she's staying in, and puts
They'll never catch me in here.
she puts a chair under the
that
doorknob.
always works,
Yeah.
man. Have you ever tried that shit?
Then
Just
they-
put a chair up under the door.
And they're like, we're gonna shoot her up with Thorazine. Okay. Sure. So
Far out, bro.
yeah, cool.
Yeah.
While she's in there, she has a second to look. She opens the closet, and Howard Johns is in there. He's in that room. He's in the closet.
There's
So
1,000 jokes in that closet.
yeah. So she runs back to the other door and lets Virgil and Jesse in, and so.
I'm sorry. Go on.
Well, it's a very slapstick.
Hey, somebody in this room is trying to kill me. Come on in.
It was you first, but now whatever. Virgil starts walking. He just walks straight past Howard Johns and just walks towards Joan. But Joan maces him while while Howard Johns is beating up Jesse, and I don't know why he thinks this is so funny.
I mean, come on.
It's ridiculous. Yeah, I mean, like, well, we were just going to shoot you up with Thorazine, but I mean, 2 for 1 and whatever.
That's why it's funny. Okay, I'm sorry.
Virgil's maced. Joan sorry. Joan runs out of the room, and then she immediately just falls down the stairs.
Oh, yeah.
And Jesse...
She got a reward waiting for her when she wakes up.
Yeah. Jesse fights Johns off, but then no, he doesn't. He gets knocked out. Jesse gets knocked out by Johns, and then Johns goes down the stairs
And punches the girl.
and punches Joan. By the way, I really did like that wall on the stairwell. It looked like Suspiria, kind of.
Yeah. The
I like the wall.
the colors were slapping, but so was John's.
Yeah. So he punches Joan, and then
he beats a woman.
He
at the
punches her
end of the stairs.
and carries her away. And then Virgil wakes up and wakes Jesse up. We see. So they're awake now. Johns has taken Joan into the boiler room, and she's on this table, and he's preparing to use this contraption that will, if he turns it on, a drill will go through her head. But
He's
then
making sure it's gonna go through real right.
yeah. But then he hears the Virgil and Jesse, and he duct tapes Joan's mouth. And then it shows Virgil and Jesse getting the syringe prepared. Shouldn't they have had that prepared already before they got knocked out?
They Shlomo and Polly, man. Hey, I'm an asshole. Yeah, what's up?
So
It
they're
doesn't
like,
matter.
they're like, we got this syringe ready. Ha ha ha. They laugh about it. They laugh at Joan about because she's being laid out to die. They laugh in her face, and Jesse is like in her face. Like he doesn't realize the drill is above his head, and he's like,
Oh, he's trying to rape her, too.
yeah, he's very, it's bad. So Johns grabs Jesse, but they get him with a cattle prod, and Jesse starts teasing Joan again, Gilmore, the doctor, and he says, yeah, we're going to fill you up with Thorazine and take you back to Ward L and make you part of the living dead. While Virgil makes a big mistake, and he turns on what he thinks are the lights, but he actually turns on the drill, which drills through Jesse's head. So Virgil is also a murderer in this movie.
Yeah.
Now, Johns is up again after the cattle prod. He gets up right in time to fight Virgil, and he stabs him to death with a crowbar. And then he turns around, and Joan cattle prods him. Okay. So, he gets the crowbar out of Virgil, and then he starts chasing Joan. Okay. This chase scene...
It goes on too long.
It goes on for 7 minutes almost.
Yeah, it's too long.
It's her hiding.
Boiler room madness.
Yeah, it's her hiding in the... she's hiding. Then she gets into the air vent. Then... She
what is the claw machine
before
thing?
that it's I think it's a oh crap, like a,
but I mean, how could it fuck you up?
It could,
you could just kick it away.
It's an awl, like an AWL. It's an electric awl.
Okay, but can that really fuck you up?
Yeah.
Really?
Yes, it has blades on it.
If it's like lint down
if it's doing this, it has blades on it.
But I mean,
I did the circle thing with my finger. I had to say what I was doing.
Ladies and gentlemen, Emily did the circle thing with her finger. But I mean, can it actually fuck you up, or can you just like kick it away and be like, no, I don't want that?
It's strong.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay. So
maybe he's got something.
Before this, though, I
thought it was just like an elaborate claw machine thing.
No, before that,
and she was the prize.
But before that, before she gets in the air vent, she does find Barbara from the beginning, skateboard girl. She finds her She finds her boyfriend dead behind a door. I don't know what the point of that is, but okay.
No, it's just to upset skateboard
So she
girl.
gets in the air vent and kind of gets away from him, but then she gets to where she thinks she can get through, and it's where the fan is, and he's like, "Oh no!" And he turns the fan on so she can't get out that way. And then he starts hanging that electric awl down. And she finally starts kicking this little, what do you call it?
A claw.
A little gate thing. Not the claw. To get out. There's like a little grate. Yeah. She starts kicking that, and she finally gets out at 1 minute and 23 seconds. This is set like 7 minutes later. God damn. For nothing.
You're telling me, man.
I'm gonna lower that. So Joan finds then after she gets out, she finds Heckler, the security guard. He's dead, in his car.
So much for security.
Yeah, and Chase is still going inside this. He's still in. Okay, so he goes back into the sorority house, and she goes into. And she has this mirror shard, and then Mark rolls in with his hands tied behind his back and a shotgun in his hand and just fires it like willy-nilly at nothing because that's behind his back.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what happens whenever you have a misanthropic fawns.
Yeah. When he does this, Collins comes in, and she looks at Howard Johns, and she's like, Francis... OMG, that's her son. It's Miss Collins' son, the killer.
No, and nobody knew that before.
Yeah, no.
Nobody gathered that whenever Mrs. Collins' story corner.
So, as she's talking to her son, Joan comes up from behind and stabs him in the neck with a mirror shard.
No, not my boy.
Then Collins tries to shoot Joan, but the gun is out of bullets at that point. So now we get another flashback, black and white. So what actually happened was not the story that Miss Collins told about Francis getting all upset about being spanked.
It was her all along.
She was the one that actually went down and saw them doing stuff with her son, and nail gun massacred all of them.
She was the one up at Dead Man's Curve. It was her. And
then she fucking let her son go down for all that and got put into a fucking the L ward.
Oh.
Bitch. Whatever. Okay.
Oh, she has already lived her life as a criminal, so it's fine.
I mean, I was thinking though,
doesn't matter.
I'd be
nobody cares. The law doesn't matter.
But at this point,
I'm upset, Emily.
if I were Francis, I would be batshit insane too, because they've been giving me a lobotomy and electric shock therapy and shit for years for something I didn't fucking do.
If I was Francis, I would say at least one thing.
Yeah, but he was mute, so he couldn't, because that's silent madness. Anyway, the reporters, we cut to the reporters.
So if it was me, it would have been a vocal madness?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
The only reason it's silent is because he's mute.
I think that's what we're doing. We should call this podcast Vocal Madness.
Well, it basically is. So we cut to the reporters, and the sheriff kind of apologizes to Joan. After
being a real piece of shit.
Yeah. And so Joan says that Collins had her son illegitimately and secretly gave him her maiden name and a job on campus so she could keep an eye on him. Well, what did she have him do for the first 18 years? He didn't just come out of her as a grown man. So what was she doing with him?
Whoa. We
before?
don't know that because we have seen a movie called Extra.
Extra?
Yeah.
True. That is true. Maybe it did. Maybe this is the sequel to
apparently
the other
you
sequel to
can
Extra.
birth a human grown
Yeah.
adult.
And at this point, they also talk about how he was mute. They don't talk about how he was mute until the very end of the movie and on the back of the box. So, by the way, back to the reporters, they're saying that the staff at Crest Haven has been suspended, and Joan's getting in her car, and Mark's like, why don't you stay a while with me? We're in love. And she's like, I have to get back. And I'm like, to what?
Fuck you, low rent John Fogerty.
But I'm like, what do you have to get back to? The job that you don't have anymore?
Oh, no.
Okay.
Well,
and
then he quits his job.
well,
that
he doesn't say that, but she does say, well, this ring that you gave me to pretend I was in this sorority that is your sister's, it won't come off. So I guess we'll have to live happily ever after.
Dude leaves his career behind for pussy.
Yeah, he gets in the car,
which most men have fallen for such things.
He gets in the car, and then as soon as he gets in the car, she's able to get the ring off and throws it up in the air, and then it's like the end.
Yeah, that should be a symbol of how their relationship's gonna go.
Yeah, probably. So the kill count. Number 1, we have Paul. That is Ronnie from Sleepaway Camp, Paul D'Angelo. His name's Paul in the movie. He's struck in the head by Francis with a sledgehammer. It wasn't just a regular hammer. Then we have Susan. He gets a hatchet to the back of her head. Barbara is next, head crushed in a vice. Lorraine, face scalded with steam. These are all done by Francis. Then we have the flashback deaths, which are 5, 6, 7, and 8. The Delta Omega girls. They're shot in different areas with a nail gun. This is all Mrs. Collins, but we're led to believe through the movie that it's Francis.
Shot in different areas with a nail gun.
Well, shot in the chest, shot in the neck, shot in the back, shot in the head. So,
God damn.
Number 9, we have Cheryl. She's stabbed and sliced down the back by Francis.
Well, I mean, it wouldn't be nice if somebody every now and then was slabbed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I mean, Joan was for a second. Anyway, Pam.
Hot damn.
Pam was decapitated by Francis. Jesse gets a drill to the skull by Virgil accidentally. Virgil is stabbed in the chest with a crowbar by Francis. Barbara's boyfriend is killed off screen by Francis. They find the body. Mr. Hackler is stabbed in the back off screen. Body's found. And then the 15th death is Francis, Howard Francis Johns, stabbed in the neck with a mirror shard. As far as fun facts, there aren't a lot. It was released in 3D.
No, I can't imagine.
We've talked about some of this already. It was released in 3D. Dr. Kruger and Boiler Room were coincidences and not done because of Nightmare on Elm Street, as it was shot in 83. Although I do think Kruger could have been taken from Last House on the Left. So whatever. It's also known as the Omega Factor, the Night Killers, and Beautiful Screamers. None
of them make the movie better.
Many of the actors did work on a lot of other movies, surprisingly.
I hope so.
Yeah. We've already talked about the other people like that. Oh, the girl who plays Barbara at the beginning, she's Robin.
Babs.
Robin in Friday the 13th Part 7, The New Blood, which was one of my favorite ones.
Really?
The budget was $600,000, so I think it was made very well for that budget.
Yeah, it looked like a really well-made movie. It's just the story is garbage.
It only opened in California and New York in theaters in 84 and 85. What do you rate this out of 5?
0.5.
You did.
Half a point. No, this movie sucked.
I did not hate it. I'll give it a 2.75.
No,
I
give it half a point.
I thought it was a well-made movie.
It had a little moxie. It looked like it had some moxie, but then I'm done. Like the movie is. I'm not trying to talk shit.
No, I mean
whatever,
I know it does for a movie that's only an hour and 20 fucking minutes. It seems a lot longer. And the deaths, although there are a lot of them, they're kind of bored. I mean, the Vice one is pretty cool.
The Vice one and the drill bit, that shit was awesome.
Yeah, and the one with Lorraine being scalded with the steam could have been cool if we had seen the after effects of it, but we didn't.
Well, I mean, all the fleshing out of like the serial killer or the killer or whatever is like, okay, he's mute, so he doesn't say anything, and there's just him running around a boiler room and hiding a lot, and then there's a lot of bullshit character development about the characters we don't care about.
Also, the guy that plays Mark is a huge character actor in a lot of different things, so I'm just you know.
Laurent John Fogerty.
Yes. I think there is a little bit of camaraderie between those girls, so I'll give it a little bit for that. I thought the score was fine. It's not memorable, but I thought it was shot well. I didn't think it was that poorly acted.
It was shot well. Yeah. Cinematography.
It just kind of drags.
Yeah, for sure.
It's the most important thing in my star giving is rewatchability, and it does not have that high of a rewatchability.
We'll never watch this movie.
I mean,
again.
I might watch it once every like 5 years or something, and it'll just be because I forgot what happens in it or something.
Oh, I will announce every 5 years. I will call you.
Like,
say, all right, Emily, watch it.
I'll be like, no. Okay, so...
No. I'll come over and make you watch it, and then I'll leave.
Well, I'll be wasting your time.
I'll just start it.
Okay, so stay gagged on that Vice. That head
Stay
Vice.
gagged on something silent. Just
Yeah.
be quiet, everybody. Jesus. Stay so loud.
Stay gagged on the L ward.
Stay gagged on that loud.
Stay gagged on putting Coke in your cereal.
Dude, if you got Coke, holler.
Coca-Cola.
Stay gagged on Pepsi.
I don't know. I like Coke more.
Well, that's up to you.
Okay. Well,
Pepsi has more sugar. I don't like either one of them.
I like Mountain Dew. That's a Pepsi product, though. I like Mellow Yellow, too, though. That's Coke. Never mind. Okay, well, stay gagged on all of our social media. Instagram, TikTok, Gag Me With a Knife podcast. And go buy our merch on gagmewithaknifepodcast.com. Don't put www beforehand.
Bye.
I'll do whatever it takes to be an alpha.